The reviews are in on Donald Trump's dinner with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi last night, and the right wing hates it. Breitbart's headline today read, Trump caves on DACA, wants quick amnesty for 800,000 illegal aliens. And Coulter tweeted, put a fork in Trump, he's dead. At this point, who doesn't want Trump impeached? The bad news for Trump supporters came last night in Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer's statement about the dinner. We agreed to enshrine the protections of DACA into law quickly and to work out a package of border security, excluding the wall that's acceptable to both sides. The president got nervous about the right-wing rebellion this morning and tweeted, no deal was made last night on DACA. Massive border security would have to be agreed to in exchange for consent, would be subject to vote. That provoked a response statement from Pelosi and Schumer. President Trump's tweets are not inconsistent with the agreement reached last night. As we said last night, there was no final deal, but there was agreement on the following. We agreed that the president would support enshrining DACA protections into law and encourage the House and Senate to act. What remains to be negotiated are the details of border security, with our mutual goal of finalizing all details as soon as possible. While both sides agreed that the wall would not be any part of this agreement, the president made clear he intends to pursue it at a later time, and we made clear we would continue to oppose it. This morning, the president said this.
Well, we're working on a plan subject to getting massive border control. We're working on a plan for DACA. People want to see that happen. You have 800,000 young people brought here, no fault of their own, and I think something could happen. We'll see what happens, but something will happen.
As to the wall that he promised Mexico would pay for, the president said this.
The wall will come later. We're right now renovating large sections of wall, massive sections, making it brand new. We're doing a lot of renovation. We're building 4 different samples of the wall to see which one we're going to choose, and the wall is going to be built. It'll be funded a little bit later.
Remember Donald Trump leading the chants, renovate the wall during the campaign? No, I don't either. Rush Limbaugh made it very clear on his show today that he is ready to turn on Donald Trump if and when his audience turns on Donald Trump. Rush Limbaugh has never been one to lead his audience. He always waits to see where they're going and then follows them, as he did in his support for the Trump candidacy.
I stop and I ask myself, would Trump really do this? Does Trump not know how he would blow up the entire support base he has by making a deal with Chuck and Nancy and taking the wall off the table while granting amnesty to anybody? I don't care if it's children, if it's seasoned citizens. And I'm asking myself, would Trump really do that? Is he that? Fill in the blank.
I don't care if it's children. Oh, did I mention that Rush Limbaugh has never had any children? Joining us now is Tim O'Brien, the executive editor of Bloomberg View and author of Trump Nation, The Art of Being the Donald. He's an MSNBC contributor, and back with us is David Frum. And Tim, I know a lot of people look at Trump maneuvers and think, oh, what's he thinking? What's he up to? My first approach to Trump is always, he has no idea what he's talking about and no idea what he's doing.
He's a profoundly ill-informed executive. He doesn't know the nuts and bolts of most of the policies that have come across his desk so far. We saw it in spades on healthcare, and I think we're seeing it now in immigration policy. And I don't think it bothers him that he's not familiar with the details of the policy, because his first goal in all of this is self-aggrandizement. And I think he got a little bit intoxicated last week with the debt ceiling talks, because he finally got good press around the notion that this is a White House that can push some kind of policy out the door. But I think he was mistaken in his assessment of that, because it was a policy that Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan had to get on board with. I don't think they're going to get on board with him on DACA, and certainly not on Dreamers. And I don't think he knows the difference between the DACA Act and the Dreamers Act. And I think Pelosi and Schumer tried to roll him.
Yeah, and so there's this argument tonight, David, from where the president is saying, citizenship, absolutely not. There's no possibility of citizenship. But of course, citizenship is in the Democratic approach to this as the end game for the Dreamers. But that's just another example of the president doesn't know what they are actually talking about whenever they're talking about legislation.
And he doesn't know what he has been talking about. He doesn't know what his supporters want. Immigration restrictionists in the Republican Party, and I'm one of them, had in mind that immigration policy should look something like this, the things that we most cared about were enforcement at the workplace and a reduction in overall numbers entering the country. In order to get that, you had to trade something. And the thing that we always had in mind to trade was some kind of coverage for people who were brought into the country as children. So that was a concession that you would trade for other things that were important. One of the things that no one who is serious about immigration has ever cared about at all is this stupid wall idea. Enforcement takes place at the workforce and at the workplace, and that is what all of those, Tom Cotton, the intellectual community around this have always cared about. So Trump, unaware of the things that his immigration supporters wanted, doesn't even talk about those, gave away the DACA concession for free in order to chase the stream of a wall that actually the people who care about immigration don't care about very much at all.
Let's listen to what Nancy Pelosi said about this today.
Did the word citizenship come up in the meeting? And does the president understand that Dreamers includes a path to citizenship?
Well, I'm not here to speak about what the president understands, but I do believe that there is an understanding that down the road there is an eventual path to citizenship in the DREAM Act.
And there's a report tonight from Politico about Donald Trump's attitude toward the congressional leaders. It says, in recent weeks, Trump has complained in private that it's difficult to have any sort of relationship or even make small talk with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. He's told staff that he finds Speaker Paul Ryan, whom he's dubbed a Boy Scout, dry as well. But the two have some rapport. By contrast, Trump can relate to Democratic leaders Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, who talk more in non-Washington terms that he understands. According to people familiar with their meetings, and Tim O'Brien, I think we know what we've got going on there. Chuck Schumer knows exactly how to play this guy.
He does, and the mystery here is that Trump needs McConnell and Ryan ultimately much more than he needs Pelosi and Schumer. But because he deals at this very shallow, superficial level of, can I talk to you or do you look like a Boy Scout? Right. He's going to run into serious problems getting his legislative agenda pushed through.
Yeah, David, it seems that the president loses sight of the fact that Nancy Pelosi does not have the ability to advance legislation in the House of Representatives. There really isn't even a process for her to have a bill brought up and get a vote on anything. Almost a similar constraint on Chuck Schumer in the Senate. He can try to throw amendments onto things, but he can't bring up bills. And you can't move anything without those Republican leaders.
But you know what? Neither can Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan. I think one of the reasons the president's so disrespectful of Paul Ryan is the discovery that Paul Ryan does not have power either, because he also does not control the majority of the House of Representatives. He controls a majority of the Republican faction within the Republican Party within the House of Representatives, but not enough to pass bills. So Ryan's position is more analogous to that of Nancy Pelosi than the traditional majority leader versus minority leader. But it is amazing that Donald Trump thinks, I mean, of course Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi are jolly with him. They have his watch. They have his wallet. Why wouldn't they be pleased?
Right. Let's listen to what Steve King said about this today.
If there's amnesty that's delivered into this package, then I don't know that any candidate could run for president again and make a promise and expect the people to accept that promise. I think that a re-elect in 2020 would be very difficult for the president if amnesty goes with DACA, and especially if amnesty goes with DACA, and if a wall is not at least under robust construction by then.
Tim, so there's the terms of the most fervent Trump supporters. You've got to have the wall under construction, and there can be nothing that they call amnesty.
In fact, that was a very sober moment with Steve King, because on Twitter today, he actually said that if Trump pursues this course, he's going to blow up his relationship with his base, and he's done, and that everyone will realize that none of his promises are reliable. That's the dangerous ground he's on right now. Rush Limbaugh gestured at that, and Coulter has. The Daily Caller put out a story tonight, 39 instances in which Trump trashed amnesty, reminding him that he has a long history of being on the other side of this issue. He's in trouble with his base around this stuff.
Tim O'Brien and David Frum, thanks for joining us tonight. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.